The grand hall of the Draconian court was abuzz with activity, the air heavy with a mixture of anticipation and disbelief. High-arched ceilings, adorned with bioluminescent frescoes, cast a surreal glow over the assembled council. At the center of it all stood Princess Lysara, her figure statuesque, draped in a flowing gown that shimmered with the colors of distant nebulae. Esteemed members of the council, people of Dracon, Lysara began, her voice echoing authoritatively through the chamber. We face a grave challenge, one that threatens the very essence of our civilization. Beside her, General Zarvok shifted uncomfortably, his scales reflecting his irritation. We've heard these concerns before, Your Highness. But why summon a human? Their ways are not ours. Lysara turned to him, her gaze steady. Because, General, our scientists are convinced that the human's genetic diversity could be key to our survival. We cannot let pride blind us to practical solutions. From the shadowed corner of the hall, Counselor Tyrene, a scholar of human cultures, spoke up. The princess is right. My studies confirm that humans are remarkably adaptive. Bringing one here could offer new genetic pathways for our next generations. Zarvok wasn't convinced. And one of our own people. Shouldn't we focus on strengthening ourselves rather than relying on outsiders? Before Lysara could respond, the doors to the chamber burst open, and in strode Commander Rail, accompanied by a holographic projection of Earth. This, Rail pointed at the rotating globe, is Earth. Crowded, chaotic, yet thriving against odds. They're survivors, much like us. And their diplomat, a man named David, is willing to come. He's known for his work in genetics. The room erupted in murmurs. A young officer, Liera, stepped forward. With respect, bringing a human here isn't just about survival. It's about understanding, learning, perhaps even evolving together. Zarvok scoffed. Or it could lead to our downfall. Princess Lysara raised her hands for silence. This is why we must decide together. I propose a vote. Those in favor of inviting the human, David, to join us say. One by one, the voices rang out in the chamber, a chorus of cautious optimism overshadowed by a few resolute nays. Finally, Lysara counted the votes and nodded solemnly. It is decided. We will bring the human David here. He will not only represent his species, but will join us in the spirit of mutual benefit. It is my decree that we embark on this endeavor with open hearts and minds. As the council dispersed, Zarvok approached Lysara, his tone less confrontational. Princess, I hope your decision brings us prosperity. I hope so too, General, Lysara replied, watching the hologram of Earth slowly fade. For both our peoples. Outside the Great Hall, Tyrene and Rail lingered by the massive windows looking out into the starlit cosmos. Do you think the humans will understand what's at stake here? Tyrene asked, thoughtful. Rail smiled faintly. Humans are full of surprises. Let's hope David is one of them. The two nodded to each other, their thoughts lingering on the uncertain future, as stars continued to twinkle indifferently against the vast, dark canvas of space. At the Global Alliance headquarters on Earth, a panel of leaders and scientists gathered around a sleek conference table, the room bathed in the soft light of early morning. A hologram of the Draconian Princess Lysara flickered in the center, her recent speech still resonating with the council. David sat slightly apart, his gaze fixed on the rotating hologram of Dracon, now displayed beside Lysara's image. The room was charged with a palpable sense of urgency. Dr. Elena Myrov, head of the Genetic Compatibility Project, broke the silence. David, you've heard the princess. This mission isn't just about genetics. It's a diplomatic tightrope. Are you certain you're prepared for this? David nodded, his expression resolute. I understand the risks. But if there's a chance my work can prevent a crisis, then I'm all in. How soon do they expect me? Immediately, replied Ambassador Chin, adjusting his glasses. The Draconians value prompt action. You'll leave within the week. General Adams leaned forward, his hands clasped tightly. David, this isn't just a scientific expedition. You'll be an emissary for humanity. Every move you make will be scrutinized. David met Adams' stern gaze. I've negotiated under pressure before. I can handle this. Good, Chen said. Because you won't be going alone. The doors opened, and two men entered, Dr. Alex Rios, an expert in exobiology, and Major Samir Patel, a security advisor. Rios extended a hand to David. Looking forward to working with you. There's a lot we can learn from each other. Patel nodded in agreement, his demeanor cautious yet friendly. And I'm here to ensure everyone comes back safely. David smiled, appreciating the support. It's good to have you both on board. What's our first step? We've arranged a series of briefings for you, Myrv explained. Cultural, biological, technological. You'll need to be familiar with all aspects of Draconian society. As the meeting adjourned, David, Rios, and Patel lingered behind. Rios pulled up data on his tablet. Here's something interesting, he said, showing a complex genetic chart. Their DNA has sequences we've never seen. We could be on the brink of groundbreaking discoveries. Patel, ever the strategist, pointed to a security brief. And here's my concern. Their military capabilities are impressive. We need to tread carefully. The three men spent the next hours poring over documents and discussing strategies. David felt a kinship with his new colleagues. Their shared mission brought a sense of camaraderie. As they wrapped up, Patel looked at David. It's going to be a challenge, but something tells me we're the right team for the job. David nodded. We're not just going there to help them. We're going to learn, adapt, and maybe even change a few minds. Rios clapped both men on the back. Then let's get to work. We have a planet to understand. With their path set, David, Rios, and Patel left the conference room together, their steps synchronized, each man aware of the weight of the task ahead and eager to face it together. The adventure into the unknown was just beginning, and the bonds they were forming now would be crucial in the days to come. Aboard the interstellar vessel Helios, David, Alex Rios, and Major Samir Patel prepared for the long journey to Dracon. The hum of the ship's engines filled the background as they checked and double-checked their equipment in the main lab. Patel, looking over the security protocols, turned to David. Once we enter Draconian space, we'll be under their jurisdiction. I've set up a direct line to Earth Command, just in case. David nodded, adjusting a microscope. And I'll start familiarizing myself with their medical technology right away. Anything to keep us ahead? Rios, busy calibrating a biometric scanner, chimed in. And I'm diving into their ecosystem data. Understanding their flora and fauna could give us insights into their entire biological network. The door hissed open, and Captain Lara entered, her presence commanding yet reassuring. Gentlemen, how are we feeling about our first contact protocol? David, you'll be the face of this mission. David straightened up. Ready as we'll ever be, Captain. We've gone over the greeting rituals, and I've been practicing their language daily. Lara smiled slightly. Good, because communication will be key. Draconians respect knowledge and directness. Keep that in mind. As the ship neared a wormhole gateway, the crew gathered on the bridge. The swirling vortex of the wormhole loomed ahead, its colors a mesmerizing dance of cosmic forces. Rios looked out at the view with a mix of awe and scientific curiosity. Incredible, isn't it? To think that in a few hours, we'll be meeting a civilization that evolved completely independent of our own. Patel checked his instruments, ensuring their personal safety gear was in order. It's not just meeting them, Alex. It's making sure we can coexist peacefully, without misunderstandings. As the Helios approached the wormhole, the tension on the bridge grew palpable. David stood beside Lara, watching the readings on the main console. Captain, all systems are go. We're ready to make the jump. Engage, Lara commanded, and the ship lurched forward, entering the wormhole. Colors blurred around them, time seemed to bend, and then, as quickly as it had begun, the ship emerged on the other side, into Draconian space. The crew took a moment to adjust to the normalcy of space travel again. David turned to his team. We're not just scientists and soldiers today. We're ambassadors. Rios nodded, his eyes fixed on the data streaming in. First order of business, understanding their environment. I'll start with the atmospheric test. Patel began organizing their itinerary. I'll coordinate with their security forces. We need to establish trust and ensure our movements are transparent. As the crew set about their tasks, David prepared his first official transmission back to Earth. This is David, aboard the Helios. We have successfully arrived in Draconian territory and are beginning our mission. Details to follow. As the Helios settled into orbit around Dracon, the atmosphere among the crew shifted from apprehension to determination. David, Major Patel, and Dr. Rios were summoned to the royal court, a sprawling complex that reflected Dracon's ancient architectural prowess with its towering spires and expansive courtyards. Upon arrival, they were greeted by Minister Kalen, a high-ranking official in the Draconian hierarchy, whose role was to facilitate their integration and oversee their diplomatic engagements. "Welcome, Earth representatives," Calum began, extending a hand in their traditional greeting, palm open and upwards as a sign of peace. "Princess Lysara is eager to commence the courtship rituals that will integrate your leader into our society." David stepped forward, responding in practice Draconian. "We are honored by your welcome and ready to engage with respect and sincerity." Kalen nodded, apparently pleased with David's use of their language. "Come, let us show you to your quarters before the ceremony begins." As they walked through the corridors, Patel whispered to David, "Stay sharp, David. This is all friendly, but remember, we're here on a mission." David nodded, just as they were ushered into a grand hall where Princess Lysara awaited. She stood regal and composed, her presence commanding the room. "David, it is a pleasure to finally meet you," Lysara said, her voice melodious yet strong. "The honor is mine, Your Highness," David replied, bowing slightly, as he had been instructed in the customs of Dracon. Lysara smiled, her eyes reflecting a mixture of curiosity and hope. "I have planned a series of events that will help us understand each other's cultures and intentions better. Shall we begin?" David agreed, and the courtship rituals commenced with a tour of the royal gardens, where the flora of Dracon was cultivated to represent the beauty and diversity of their planet. Rios, intrigued by the botanical science, engaged with one of Lysara's aides, discussing the adaptive traits of plants. "Your Highness, these plants exhibit remarkable genetic resilience," Rios commented, examining a luminescent leaf. "They could offer insights into sustainable growth on Earth." Lysara listened intently, her interest evident. "Perhaps this is just one of many exchanges we can have, Dr. Rios. Our civilizations have much to offer one another." Meanwhile, Patel kept a discreet distance, observing the security details of the palace and coordinating quietly with his team back on the Helios. As evening approached, they were invited to a traditional Draconian feast, where dishes strange and exotic were served. Each course was accompanied by explanations from Lysara, who took pleasure in describing the cultural significance of the meals. David took this opportunity to deepen the dialogue. "Your Highness, these rituals, this sharing of culture, it's more than just formality, isn't it?" Lysara paused, her expression softening. "Indeed, David. It is a way to bridge our worlds, to show that despite our differences, there is harmony to be found." As the feast concluded, Kalen approached them. "Tomorrow, we have arranged a session in the council chamber. It will be your opportunity to present Earth's technologies and philosophies." Patel leaned in, speaking low. "David, we'll need to prepare thoroughly tonight. It's not just their respect we need to earn, but their trust." David nodded, feeling the weight of his role not just as a scientist but as an ambassador. "We'll be ready." The following morning, the halls of the royal court were bustling as David, Major Patel, and Dr. Rios prepared for a pivotal presentation to the Draconian Council. The atmosphere was charged with a mix of anticipation and diplomatic formality. In their quarters, David reviewed his notes one final time. "This presentation could set the tone for our entire relationship. We need to be clear, respectful, and insightful." Patel adjusted his uniform, checking his communicator. "And security-wise, we're as prepared as we can be. I've confirmed that all protocols are in place." Rios, looking over the scientific data on his tablet, added, "I've included the latest environmental data from Earth. It should help illustrate our points on sustainable technologies and their potential benefits for Dracon." As they made their way to the council chamber, they were joined by Kalen, who seemed particularly pensive. "Your presentation will be broadcast across all of Dracon. The citizens are very interested in Earth and its people." Upon entering the chamber, they were greeted by a semicircle of council members, with Princess Lysara at the center. The room was filled with a quiet tension, as multiple species from the Draconian Dominion looked on. David stepped forward, initiating the presentation with a greeting in Draconian, which drew murmurs of approval from the audience. "Today, we share not just Earth's scientific advancements, but our philosophy of coexistence with nature and technology." Rios then took the stage, discussing Earth's environmental challenges and the solutions developed to combat them. His detailed explanation of genetic modification in crops to enhance yield and resist drought was met with keen interest, especially from the agricultural sectors of Dracon. Patel followed, focusing on Earth security protocols, emphasizing the importance of transparency and mutual respect in maintaining peace. "Our goal is not just to protect our people, but to create an environment where trust can thrive." Princess Lysara interjected with a thoughtful question. How do you ensure that these technologies are used ethically? David responded, through rigorous international laws and a global oversight committee. It's about balance, ensuring that innovation benefits all without compromising our ethical standards. The discussion opened up, with council members asking about everything from Earth's cultural diversity to its political structures. Each question was handled with care, showcasing Earth's commitment to harmony and progress. As the session drew to a close, Kalen approached the trio. Your words have stirred much thought among us. The princess wishes to extend an invitation to visit our primary research facility. She believes it could be the beginning of a fruitful collaboration. Patel and Rios exchanged glances, seeing the opportunity. We appreciate the princess's offer and accept with gratitude, Patel said, always cautious but optimistic. David added, we look forward to understanding more about your world and finding ways we can work together for the benefit of both our peoples. As they left the chamber, the impact of their presentation was evident. The hall buzzed with conversations among Draconians, some skeptical, but many more intrigued by the possibilities of Earth's technologies and philosophies. Rios, feeling a sense of accomplishment, shared, I think we've managed to show them that Earth isn't just seeking to take, but to give and grow together. Patel nodded, his strategic mind already thinking ahead. And we've set a foundation of trust. Now we just need to build on it. David looked back at the closing doors of the chamber. Today was just the beginning. Let's make sure it leads to a lasting partnership. The Helios crew was invited to the Draconian Royal Gardens at dusk, an event orchestrated by Princess Lysara herself to foster deeper connections. The gardens were a spectacle of bioluminescence, with pathways lit by glowing flora that painted the night in vibrant hues of blues and greens. David, Major Patel, and Dr. Rios were escorted by Minister Kalen, who appeared more relaxed in the natural setting. These gardens are a place of peace and contemplation for our people. The princess thought it the perfect place to continue your integration into our culture. As they walked, the air filled with the soft sounds of the nocturnal creatures of Dracon, adding a natural melody to their conversation. David was particularly captivated by the beauty of the environment, a stark contrast to the more formal settings he had been in since their arrival. It's beautiful here, David remarked, stopping to admire a particularly bright cluster of flowers. Lysara, who had joined them quietly, responded with a smile. These are the Eloria flowers. They bloom with the cycles of our moons. They are a symbol of new beginnings in our culture. Rios, ever the scientist, was intrigued. The bioluminescence must be quite adaptive. Is it purely aesthetic, or does it serve a biological function? Lysara engaged with Rios's curiosity. It attracts pollinators and also deters some of the nocturnal herbivores. But many believe they capture the essence of our planet's beauty and mystery. As they continued walking, Patel kept a watchful eye on the surroundings, ensuring their safety while allowing himself to enjoy the conversation and the views. The group settled at a clearing with a panoramic view of the gardens under the night sky, where a small feast had been prepared. They sat and shared tales of their respective planets. Lysara was particularly interested in Earth's oceans, which she had only seen in images. David described them with a passion that caught Lysara's attention. The oceans are vast and full of life, much like your gardens, but in liquid form. They can be calm and welcoming, but also powerful and unforgiving. Lysara listened intently, her gaze locked with David's. I would like to see these oceans one day. Their conversation deepened, drifting to dreams and aspirations, slowly building a bridge of understanding and mutual respect. As the evening progressed, the group excused themselves, subtly leaving David and Lysara alone. The tension between them was palpable, charged with the excitement of new connections and the uncertainty of cross-species emotions. Lysara stood and walked towards one of the garden's reflective pools, with David following. She broke the silence. David, your words, your visions of Earth, they move me. There's so much to you beyond your mission. David was taken by her openness. And you, princess, have shown me a world I never knew existed. It's more than I could have hoped to discover. Standing by the pool, the reflections of the twin moons dancing across the water's surface, Lysara turned to face him. She reached out, hesitantly touching his hand. In my culture, sharing one's reflection is a sign of trust. David took her hand in his, their reflections merging into water. And on Earth, a kiss can be a sign of deep connection. Lysara nodded slightly, a gesture of consent. David leaned in, and their lips met, a gentle, exploratory kiss that bridged worlds and species. It was a moment of vulnerability and boldness, wrapped in the tranquility of the glowing garden. They parted, the air around them charged with a new energy. What does this mean for us? Lasara asked, her voice a whisper. David smiled, still holding her hand. It means we're learning, growing, maybe even changing. As dawn broke over Dracon, the air was charged with anticipation for the ceremonial event that would mark a new phase in the relationship between Earth and Dracon. David, alongside Major Patel and Dr. Rios, prepared for a ceremony that would integrate both human and Draconian traditions. In the private chambers of the royal palace, David and Patel reviewed the day's schedule. Patel, always focused on the security aspects, briefed David on the protocol. The ceremony will be symbolic, but its implications are real. You're effectively binding us in a promise of mutual respect and cooperation. David adjusted his ceremonial attire, a blend of Earth formal wear and Draconian symbols. I understand the weight of it, Samir. It's not just about Lasara and me. It's about setting a precedent for how our worlds will interact. Meanwhile, Dr. Rios was setting up equipment to document the event, ensuring that every detail was captured for both historical records and scientific analysis. This will be studied for generations on both planets, he mused, checking his cameras. As they made their way to the ceremonial grounds, they were joined by Minister Kalen and other dignitaries. The grounds were set in a vast open area, circled by towering statues that represented the ancestors of Dracon. At the center was a stage adorned with earth plants and Draconian aloria flowers, symbolizing the union of both worlds. Princess Lasara greeted them, her attire mirroring David's in symbolism. Today, we not only unite two cultures but also dream of a future together. Thank you, David, for embracing our traditions with such openness. David bowed slightly. It's an honor, Princess. Our worlds have much to learn from each other. The ceremony began with traditional Draconian music, a complex harmony of wind instruments and choral voices, followed by an earth classical quartet, blending the sounds into a beautiful symphony. The attendees were visibly moved by the harmony of the music, symbolizing the potential for unity between the two species. Kalen officiated the ceremony, speaking in both Draconian and English to ensure all guests understood the significance of each ritual. We are gathered to witness and celebrate the beginning of a shared journey, marked by the union of Princess Lasara of Dracon and David of Earth. David and Lasara stepped forward, exchanging vows that were crafted from both Earth's declarations of partnership and Draconian oaths of alliance. I vow to respect and cherish our shared heritage and future, David declared, his voice steady. And I, Lasara continued, promise to honor and nurture the bonds between our people, seeking wisdom and peace in our union. Following the vows, they participated in a Draconian ritual of mixing soil from Earth with sands from Dracon, planting a sapling that was genetically engineered to thrive in both environments. This act was met with applause and cheers from all who watched, symbolizing a growing hope for a fertile and prosperous future. After the formalities, the celebration began in earnest, with displays of cultural arts from both planets. Dancers, musicians, and artists showcased their traditions, while the air was filled with laughter and the aromas of a feast that included delicacies from both worlds. Patel, watching the festivities, leaned over to Rios. See, this is diplomacy at its finest. Not just treaties and negotiations, but real, tangible community and culture sharing. Rios nodded, capturing every moment. It's history in the making, Samir. And we're here to witness it. As the dawn crested the horizon of Dracon, casting a soft light over the now quiet ceremonial grounds, David and Princess Lasara took a contemplative walk through the royal gardens, which were still aglow with the night's luminescent flora. This feels like the beginning of a new era, Lasara remarked, her voice tinged with a mix of excitement and the weight of responsibility. David nodded in agreement. It's more than I ever imagined when we started this journey. Not just a partnership, but a genuine exchange of ideas and cultures. They were joined by Major Patel and Dr. Rios, who were discussing the next steps in their collaboration. We've been invited to establish a joint research facility here, Rios shared, his eyes bright with the prospect. It's an incredible opportunity to further our scientific goals. Patel, ever vigilant, added, and I've been coordinating with your security teams. We're setting up protocols that integrate our systems without compromising sovereignty or safety. Lasara listened intently, pleased with the seamless integration being proposed. Your expertise has been invaluable, Major Patel. We look forward to learning from your experience. As they strolled, Kalen joined them, holding a digital tablet. I've drafted a preliminary schedule for the exchange programs. We're expecting the first group of Draconian students on Earth next month. David smiled at the news. And our universities are ready to welcome them. This is the kind of interaction that will truly bind our worlds together. The group moved to a nearby pavilion, where they sat to enjoy the early morning serenity. David took a moment to reflect on the changes that had occurred, not just externally, but within him as well. Princess, this alliance, our relationship, it's taught me so much. About diplomacy, yes, but also about what it means to truly connect across stars. Lysara reached over, squeezing his hand gently. And I've learned to look beyond our own needs and see the potential in unity. Our people, working together, will achieve wonders. The conversation shifted as they planned the upcoming events. Rios was particularly excited about the collaborative technologies being developed. We're on the brink of breakthroughs in energy and agriculture, thanks to our combined efforts. Patel nodded, chiming in. And from a security perspective, our joint drills have already improved our response strategies. It's a strong foundation for enduring peace. As the meeting drew to a close, David stood, looking over the gardens. This place, our efforts, they're a testament to what can be achieved when different worlds come together. Let's continue to nurture this bond, to ensure it grows stronger every day. The group agreed, and as they left the pavilion, their conversation turned to the day-to-day tasks of implementing their grand plans, a mixture of routine and revolutionary.